Whether it's due to age, injury, or underperformance, all professional athletes need to call it quits someday. Allow us to throw in our 2 cents on that day being today. Here are 10 athletes who should retire right now. If you never want to retire from watching the Sportsters videos on YouTube, be sure to follow us by hitting the subscribe button now. Jaromir Jagr. Has Jaromir Jagr defied age and proved that men in their 40s can still compete in the National Hockey League? Absolutely. Should he actually continue playing? Sadly, no. Jagr, now 45, has broken all sorts of records while playing for 8 different teams throughout his 23 years at the NHL level, and he's currently looking for number 9, even though his stats have been steadily trending downward over the last 5 seasons. Jagr experienced something of a resurgence with the Florida Panthers 2 seasons ago when he scored 27 goals and notched 39 assists. But those numbers fell to 16 and 30 last year respectively, and the Panthers announced that they would not be signing him to a new contract. Sure, numerous teams could use an experienced veteran leader in the locker room, but does Jagr really want to do that at the expense of his own career? He'd be a lot more useful as a coach or front office exec, where he can use his knowledge of the game to usher in the newest wave of young players. Of course, there's also the possibility that no teams will come knocking, and if that's going to end up being the case, he's better off retiring now on his own terms than having to do it at the start of the season when he's still jobless. Metta World Peace. When the New York Knicks waived an overmatched Metta World Peace back in 2014, it pretty much looked like the end of his NBA career. When he played in China later that year and in Italy in 2015, it really looked like the end of his NBA career. But there's no peace for the wicked, as the fiery forward formerly known as Ron Artest returned to the US and signed with the Los Angeles Lakers in 2015, and the team surprisingly renewed his contract the following year. Although he only averaged a meager 2.3 points, 0.8 rebounds, 0.4 assists, 0.4 steals, and 0.1 blocks per game to go with a .279 field goal percentage and a .237 average from behind the arc, he was given the ball often during the Lakers' final home game on April 11, 2017, and scored 18 points in the second half. The home crowd cheered him on the entire way, as most fans expected it to be 37-year-old World Peace's last NBA game. As it turns out, that might not be the case. Even though he averaged only 5.4 minutes per game last season, World Peace expressed his desire to return to the Lakers if the team would have him. For LA's sake, let's hope they don't. And for Metta's sake, let's hope he doesn't test the free agent waters. Tiger Woods. There's little doubt that Tiger Woods, at age 41, still has enough talent to be a professional golfer. Heck, Jack Nicklaus won a Masters at age 46. But as for whether or not Woods' body will still allow him to play, there's good reason to be skeptical. Tiger has been experiencing chronic back pain since 2014, when he was forced to quit the Honda Classic early and had to sit out that year's Arnold Palmer Invitational and Masters tournament after undergoing surgery. When he was healthy enough to return to the links, Tiger struggled and ended up injuring his back again just before the 2015 Farmers Insurance Open. Woods then missed the cut at the 2015 US Open and Open Championship, the first time he ever did so in consecutive majors. In 2016, Tiger missed all 4 majors while recovering from yet another back surgery, and although he eventually returned, he went under the knife for the 4th time in 3 years in early 2017 and announced that he would miss the rest of the season. A healthy Tiger might still be able to compete against the crop of new faces slowly taking over the game, but it seems more and more likely that he'll simply cut his losses and limp into retirement. Ichiro Suzuki. As of now, Ichiro Suzuki is in his 17th MLB season, and he owns more than 3,060 hits, good for 22nd on the all-time list, among a plethora of other records. And that doesn't even include the 1,278 hits he had in 9 seasons in Japan. But for the man who was once positively feared for his ability to slap singles and leg out infield hits is gone, and Ichiro is now a bit player who only owns a .226 average, the lowest of his career. In fact, Ichiro hasn't logged a season above 300 in 8 years, after doing it for a decade straight, and this is also his 2nd season with a sub-300 on-base percentage. There's no doubt that Ichiro still has some value left as pinch hitter and clubhouse leader, especially for the struggling Miami Marlins. However, how much longer is the 43-year-old 10-time All-Star and 10-time Golden Glove winner willing to be a part-time player in the shadow of his former self, especially when each subpar year only serves to drag down his lifetime average? Ichiro needs to stop the bleeding, step away with dignity, and count the days until he inevitably becomes the first Japanese player to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Bartolo Colon. When past his prime, Bartolo Colon was designated for assignment by the Atlanta Braves earlier this season, Ichiro became the oldest active MLB player. However, Colon was quickly picked up by the floundering Minnesota Twins, and now the 44-year-old is once again baseball's eldest statesman, not to mention one of the heaviest at 285 pounds. In Big Sexy's defense, he's doing better in Minneapolis than he did in Atlanta, and he even threw a complete game shutout against the punchless Rangers on August 4th. But how much longer should the big guy attempt to keep this up? He has compiled a collective 2017 era of 7.32, while surrendering an average of nearly 13 hits per 9 innings, and also owns a bloated 1.683 whip. Sure, Colon was an all-star as recently as last year, but he's no Superman or freak of nature, and if he wants to keep his career ERA at a respectable level, he should call it quits before things get out of hand. Oh, and if you want a frame of reference for exactly how long Colon has been playing, we should point out that he's the only active major leaguer to have played for the Montreal Expos, and that was 5 years into his career. Now that we're at the halfway point, let's briefly retire for a quiz question. Last year, a 42-year-old Bartolo Colon became the oldest MLB player to hit his first career home run. But who was the oldest MLBer to ever touch them all? Stay with us until the last out to find out. Ronda Rousey. It's hard to argue that any healthy and skilled athlete should retire from a sport at age 30, but Ronda Rousey is no ordinary athlete. She found fame and success in the ring at an early age, winning her first gold medal at the World Junior Judo Championships in Budapest, Hungary when she was only 17, and another at the Pan American Judo Championships that same year. After earning a number of accolades, including a bronze at the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, Rousey retired from judo to pursue a career in mixed martial arts at age 21. And went on to compile a 12-0 record over 4 years. Then, after posting 6 consecutive title defenses, she lost in the second round of a bout with Holly Holm in November 2015. Rousey took a year off and re-emerged in December 2016 to face reigning champ Amanda Nunes, but again lost the fight via TKO, this time after just 48 seconds. There are still plenty of competitors Rousey can beat, but for someone who prides herself in being the best and is a terrible loser, it might be best to simply step away. Besides, Ronda recently got engaged and wants a family one day, and word on the street is that the WWE has been knocking on her door. Darrelle Revis. Sure, Darrelle Revis is still only 32 years old, but he has admitted his body is breaking down. As if that wasn't already obvious by watching his on-field performance over the last 2 seasons. The former 7-time Pro Bowler was constantly overmatched in 2016, with opposing quarterback ratings recorded at 91.7 compared to 59.3 in his previous years. When coverage broke down, fans would regularly see Revis as the one chasing a receiver. In fact, his play was so bad that the New York Jets released him only 2 years into his 5-year, $70 million contract, leaving him in free agent limbo going into the 2017 season. At this point, the question isn't why should Darrelle Revis retire, it's why should Darrelle Revis even bother playing? The veteran already owns Hall of Fame numbers and a Super Bowl ring from his brief stint with the New England Patriots in 2014. Plus, he's guaranteed a $6 million payday from the Jets in 2017. Unless another team can top that, he might as well not even lace up his cleats. Unless Revis thinks he can somehow put together a mind-boggling resurgence against the predictions of most football analysts, another year in the NFL will just add up to another embarrassment for the once great cornerback. Manny Pacquiao. We're not going to simply argue that boxing legend Manny Pacquiao should retire now. We're going to point out that he should have retired 3 years ago. After defeating Timothy Bradley for the WBO welterweight title on April 12, 2014, and then defending it against Chris Algieri on November 23rd of the same year, Pacquiao could have hung up his gloves just shy of his 36th birthday with a career record of 57-5-2. Instead, against better judgment and the predictions of defeat by analysts and fans around the world, Pacquiao laced up once again to face an undefeated Floyd Mayweather Jr. in May 2015. Manny not only lost by unanimous decision, but the fight was unanimously deemed dull by those who watched. Hoping to regain some of the glory he lost, Pacquiao stepped into the ring twice in 2016 against Timothy Bradley and Jesse Vargas, and won both times, dealing just the second career loss to each of his opponents. Again, this would have been another good moment to step away, as Manny once again possessed the welterweight belt and was recently elected to a Senate position in the Philippines. However, Pacquiao nevertheless decided to face an undefeated Jeff Horn on July 2, 2017, and lost in a controversial upset, leaving his future uncertain to say the least. Mike Miller from the NBA. Veteran guard Mike Miller has compiled quite the career. He was named Rookie of the Year back in 2001, 6th Man of the Year in 2006, and won back-to-back championships with the Miami Heat in 2012 and 2013. As for his latest accomplishments, we got nothing, man. Miller was waived by the Heat after their 2013 title win and ended up putting together a passable season with the Memphis Grizzlies, in which he played in every single game. Since then, he has been signed, traded, and/or waived by the Cleveland Cavaliers, Portland Trail Blazers, and Denver Nuggets. While in Colorado in the 2015-2016 season, Miller only managed an average of 7.9 minutes and 1.3 points per game to go with 1.1 rebounds and 0.9 assists off the bench in 47 contests. Although the Nuggets re-signed him on July 21, 2016, he was waived a year later after appearing in only 20 games and not starting a single one for the first time in his 17-year career. Miller is currently 37 years old, jobless, has 3 young children, and a boatload of money, which makes right now the perfect time to close the book on his NBA tenure. Reggie Bush. After 11 seasons, it's time for Reggie Bush to call it quits. In reality, 2014 or 2015 was probably time for the running back to cap his career, and few fans and analysts thought he would make it that long. Sure, Bush was one of the best players in the history of the University of Southern California and won the Heisman Trophy in 2005, but he also battled repeated injuries, never reached his full potential in 5 seasons in New Orleans, and was traded 4 times. On top of all that, he shockingly had his records, accomplishments, and basically his entire existence with USC erased after it was revealed in 2010 that he violated NCAA policies by accepting lavish gifts during his college tenure. Bush bounced back with 3 strong seasons between 2011 and 2013, but poor play afterward led to the Detroit Lions releasing him halfway through a 4-year, $16 million contract. The running back spent most of his 2015 injured, but managed to stay healthy and play in 13 games with the Buffalo Bills in 2016. However, his rushing stats were downright embarrassing: 12 carries, 1 touchdown, 1 fumble, and -3 yards, making Bush the first player in NFL history other than quarterbacks to carry the ball at least 10 times and end up with negative yardage for the season. If that's not an obvious sign that he needs to throw in the towel, then we don't know what is. The oldest MLB player to ever hit a homer was Julio Franco on May 4, 2007. At the time, the former 3-time All-Star was 48 years, 254 days old. Are there any other athletes you think should retire right now? Or how about some players in the past who ruined their careers by sticking around for way too long? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like and share this video. For more sports highlights, memories, and opinions, be sure to follow The Sportster on YouTube. Whether it's due to age, injury, or underperformance, all professional athletes need to call it quits someday. Allow us to throw in our 2 cents on that day being today. Here are 10 athletes who should retire right now. If you never want to retire from watching the Sportster's videos on YouTube, be sure to follow us by hitting the subscribe button now. Jaromir Jagr. Has Jaromir Jagr defied age and proved that men in their 40s can still compete in the National Hockey League? Absolutely. Should he actually continue playing? Sadly, no. Jagr, now 45, has broken all sorts of records while playing for 8 different teams throughout his 23 years at the NHL level, and he's currently looking for number 9, even though his stats have been steadily trending downward over the last 5 seasons. Jagr experienced something of a resurgence with the Florida Panthers 2 seasons ago when he scored 27 goals and notched 39 assists. But those numbers fell to 16 and 30 last year respectively, and the Panthers announced that they would not be signing him to a new contract. Sure, numerous teams could use an experienced veteran leader in the locker room, but does Jagr really want to do that at the expense of his own career? He'd be a lot more useful as a coach or front office exec, where he can use his knowledge of the game to usher in the newest wave of young players. Of course,